Daf Sadi Hey Amud Aleph will begin Sadi Dalet Amud Beis, 4 lines from the bottom with the 2 dots. V'chein ha-goydelis. Goydelis keichelis b'keses mishum mai mechayev. So the Mishnah said that there is a chiyuv if a woman is braiding her hair, applying makeup, painting her hair, b'keses, straightening out her hair, combing her hair. According to the first pshat in Rashi, according to the second pshat in Rashi, it means she applies strips of dough to her hair and then removes it, which reddens her complexion. So what's the chiyuv? That's a form of weaving. Braiding a hair is like weaving. And regis is a malacha. Applying makeup is with an applicator, and it's similar to writing with a pen or pencil, and similarly applying the paint or the makeup with an applicator. Paikeses mishum taiva. Paikeses is either straightening the hair, so it's like combing the threads, it's untangling the threads, or according to the second pshat in Rashi, it would be the strips of dough. It's like spinning, straightening out the strips of dough, which would be applied to her face. They said, is that the way of? That's not the normal way of weaving, so can't be a chiyuv the rice of a riga. That's not the normal way of writing. That's not the normal way of spinning threads. So that cannot be the source of the chiyuv. Keicheles is like dyeing. So when painting the eyes, when applying the makeup, it's like dyeing the skin, just like tzoveya is dyeing a material. Here also dyeing the human skin. The skin is also tzoveya, is coloring it. That's called building. Braiding the hair, or straightening out the hairs, or applying or reddening the complexion is called binyan. That's called binyan. Is that how you build? How can you build by braiding hair or straightening out hair? More answers in? Yes. So it says the Rabbeinu Shalom that he built the Tzela into Chava. So he said, we mean to say is, we darshan that he braided her hair and Vevia Eitzel Adam and presented her to Adam. They call braiding benisa, to build. So Vayivan, he built, meaning building, he braided her hair and brought her to Adam. So you see that is a form, that's something that's called binyan. That's called binyan, meaning binyan is not only building a structure, but it's also in improving the human appearance, is also called binyan. Tanya Rav Shem ben Elazar, if the woman does it la'atzma, if she does it for herself, then betura, then she's potter, because that cannot be done in a proper way. If she does it la'atzma, it's betura. But lechaverta chayeves. But if she does it for her friend, then it can be done like a hairdresser does it for a friend. Then it's done in a professional way. It's done in the proper way, and that's chayeves. V'chein hayor b'shem ben Elazar aimem v'shum Rabbi Elazar isha loisaves rak al paneha mivdei shetzevas. She should not apply to her face the makeup, because it colors her complexion. If a person is making cheese, so he milks an animal and mechavetz, and if he's mechavetz, and then he curdles it, Rashi has 2 pshatim. One is that he puts it in a wicker basket and he allows the liquid part of it to drip out, and that way he now makes it into more of a solid form. It curdles it. Or the other pshat that Rashi says that he puts the milk in the stomach of an animal and that causes it to solidify. So, or he is megaben. And megaben means is that he presses it into blocks. He makes it into blocks of cheese. Kigroigris, if the size of the shear is kigroigris, then he's chayiv. That's the shear of the making of the cheese is kigroigris, and he's chayiv for that. Hamechabed, if a person, he sweeps the floor. The hamarbitz, or if he sprinkles water on it to flatten the dust, to settle the dust. In those days, the floors were earthen floors, and they were dusty, and the dust was very annoying and harmful. So they used to sprinkle it with water, and that settled the dust and had the dust settled on the ground. Or one who removes the honey from the honeycomb, and he removes the honey from the beehive, rather. He removes the honeycombs from the beehive. So if he did it on Shabbos b'shegeg, he's chayv chatas. It's considered a malacha. He's a b'yantav like harboim. The Rebbe Lezer says these are isuri deraisa. So on Shabbos b'shegeg he'd be chayv chatas. On Yantav he'd be like a, and Mezid he'd be like a. On Yantav it's a it's a lav. There's no chorus, but he would get malchus. Chum say, no, there's no Isser Deraisa over here in both of these cases. It's a Shvus. There's no Isser Deraisa. Now, the way Taisus learns the Machlekes is as follows. Taisus learns is that it's a Machlekes if this is Gufa a Psikration. We know that if a person sweeps the floors and he intends to fill the holes on the floor, and by sweeping the floor he fills those holes, that is Boina. In a house it's considered Boina. In a field it's considered Chayrish. So if a person intentionally does it, then he's Boina. If it's not Davar Shein Miskaven, but it's a Psik Reisha that this will happen, then it's also Chayav. Taisus learns the Machlokes of Rebbe Lezer and Chacham is it a Psik Reisha? Meaning he's not Machaven to fill up the holes. The Machlokes is this itself, is it a Psik Reisha? Rabbi Lezer holds it's a psik reisha, so he's chayv chom moimer echazeh ve'echazeh einal mishum shvus. So apparently the way Taisus seems to be learning the chom at this point, we'll see more on the maskana, but the chom at this point is that even if it's not a psik reisha, it's still a shvus. It's still a shvus. That's the way Taisus seems to be learning the machlekes. The Rashba seems to be learning differently, so it's not a machlekes if it's a psik reisha or not. The question is, over here, is this item itself, he's not going to be Masha Gumais per se, but the issue is being marbitz, is sprinkling the water, is in itself, is that considered to be a malacha? Is that in itself either considered to be boina, because he's improving the floor by sprinkling it? Is that considered boina? Or is that in itself considered to be a makeh bepatish? And that is the machlokes, is the marvis, it's even where he's not masher gumais, is that considered to be a malacha, a boiner, or makeh b'patish. And similarly, in the case where we have his mechabed the floor, that seems to be the machlokes there according to the Rashba. So we have these 6 cases where we brought down ochel mechabetz megabin, and Mechab Marvitz Araida. There's a Machlekes Rishonim. This Machlekes Rebbe Lezer and Chacham, does it apply to all 6 cases, or only these last 3 cases? That's a Machlekes Rishonim. Rav Nachman Radori Yeklin Hardo. He went to Hardo Boimine. They asked him the following: Shaila Chayla Mishum Mai Mechayv. What's the chiyuv of Chayla, of milking the cow? Amlo Mishum Chayla. He said Mishum Chayla. Mechabetz Mishum Mai Mechayv. What's the chiyuv of Mechabetz? Amlo Mishum Mechabetz. Megabin mishum mechayv amru mishum megabin. So Omrulei Rabcha Kotel Kana Bag Mahav. They said your Rebbe is someone who cuts down reeds in a marsh. That's not an explanation. This is not an explanation of it. Of course, milking is milking, but the question is, what is the source of it? Why is it chayav? What is it? On what malacha is it similar to? What malacha is it similar to? So also shall be midrash hamulei. They explained it as follows: Choylev hainu mishum mefarek. Choylev is mefarek, is separating, is extracting the one item from the other. Mefarek is a told of dash, of threshing. By threshing, he removes the kernel of wheat from the chaff, from the stalks. So he's extracting the wheat, the kernel of wheat, from the husks. extracting one item from the other, that is disha. Mefarek is a tolda of that. So this as well, he's extracting the milk from the udder. So that's a tolda of dosh. Mechabetz, what is he doing by mechabetz? So when he separates the liquid part of the milk, and now the solid, the thicker part is remaining. What is the chiv of that? Mishum boyer, by straining out, by allowing the liquid part to strain out, and then he's chai mishum boyer. Megaben, by making the blocks of cheese, chai mishum boyna. That's called building. He's building the blocks. He's making the blocks of cheese. So we learned, the Brisa said, Shogim b'Shabbos chayv chatos. If you did it b'Shogim and Shabbat, there's a chayv chatos. Hazed b'Yontav, like Harboim. If you did it b'Mezer and Yontav, he's like Harboim. Divrei Rabbi Elazar. That's what Rabbi Elazar holds. Amar Rabbi Elazar, the Amar explains, Rabbi Elazar, my time to Rabbi Elazar, why should we say that if he removes the honeycomb from the beehive, that he's chayiv? What kind of chayiv is that? What's the source of this chayiv? It says by Yonasan that he dipped his spear in the yaras, in the forest of honey. What's a forest of honey? What's the connection? To teach you my yar, just to teach you like a yar. If a person is toilish mimena, if a person picks something from the forest, he picks something from the ground, from the trees, he cuts something from the trees, chayv chatas, that's kaitzer. So too, the beehive is like a yar. And if you remove the honey from the beehive, it's like cutting something down from the forest. So your chayv chatas, that's also called toilish, that's also kaitzer. So that's the source of Rabbi Elazar that he says that removing the honey is a chiv chatas. A meimer allowed the sprinkling of the water on the floors in mechuzah. Omar, he said, time of my rabbanan. So he's going according to the sheet of the rabban, who said that it's not a chiv chatas, but nevertheless it's a shvuos. So what's the time of the rabbanan that it's a shvuos? Because he might level the floor and fill up the holes on the floor. Like a gumas, he says in mechuzah, they don't have gumas on the floor. The floors were smooth and harder, and they didn't have holes in them. So there's no reason to be geyser. Similarly, nowadays our floors are not earthen floors, and we also don't have that issue. He encountered him, and he was suffering from the dust that came up from the floor. Some have that version, the comment star mehevla, that he was suffering from this dust. Why are you suffering? Don't you hold what the Brisa says, that if a person wants to sprinkle his floors on Shabbos, maybe areva malaya maim, he brings a trough full of water. He washes his face in one corner. His hands in another corner. So now he's walking around with wet hands and face. Some of the water sprinkles on the floor. And it happens on Mela, so therefore you don't have to suffer with it. You're going to do it in this manner, and therefore the dust will settle. In such a case, the Rabbanan weren't geyser in this type of a case. So Rashi has two pshat. One is that he didn't know, wasn't aware, or secondly, is, no, I don't hold of this. Tana Isha Chachama, a woman who is a Eishes Talmud Chacham or a Bas Talmud Chacham that is aware of this, Merabes is based on Shabbos. She can now sprinkle the floors on Shabbos because she can wash the dishes in one area, the cups in another corner, and Mamela, the floor will be settled down. But the Gemara says, but now we pass like Rav Shimon. And Rav Shimon says that though Rashem Miskaven is mutter, as long as it's not a psik reisha, it's mutter. So therefore, now that we hold our Shoria, even lechat chila, it's mutter, and you don't have to come on to these different aces and these different tachbulas. It's even mutter lechat chila.